Hey, what's up, everyone? Nitreg here from nitreg.com, and today I'm going to be doing 10 tables of 20NL. I went ahead and jumped up in limits, so I have the bankroll for it. I was crushing 10NL pretty hard, too, so it's a good time to go ahead and move up. So I tried one or two attempts at 20NL, and I was running pretty bad at the limits. Total down like 6 binds in EV over a couple thousand hands, and it just wasn't working out too well for me. And that happens. For some reason, it seems to always happen when you're moving up or something, but it happens. So I was kind of hovering around that 20NL spot for maybe like 2 weeks or so. Then again, I haven't really put in that many hands. I've been doing a lot of finals for school and stuff like that. So this is like the first solid session back. If you guys watched my other video, I actually ended up just playing a tournament last weekend, and or I guess I should say, what was that, 2 or 3 days ago? And I ended up winning first place, and it was a 240-man tournament, something like that. I can't remember exactly. It was like 238 or something like that. And then I ended up winning first place. It was a $3 buy-in bounty tournament, so I ended up winning $130 plus bounties, which I still haven't figured out how much the bounties were, but it was a decent amount. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't like a super huge amount of money. It's not like Poker Stars where you buy in for like $3 or $4 and you end up winning, like 3,000 or whatever it is. It just doesn't happen on Lock Poker. But it was pretty nice to win $130 or so. It pads my bankroll, and I can play 20NL without having to stress out about jumping back down to 10NL. So that's always nice. I don't play tournaments that often either, so it's kind of nice that I got a pretty good result out of that one. And I think it only took me like 4.5 hours to play the tournament too, so it wasn't like a big time sink either. Bottom middle table, I have a royal draw, so I'm going to c-bet, of course. Top left, against the fish, I'm just going to kind of give up. So there's not going to be as much strategy in these videos as there are in a couple of my other videos, but the main goal of it is just to kind of grind and kind of so you guys can understand what my thought processes are like when I grind, kind of like how it works. Here, this guy limps a really wide range, and he doesn't necessarily have a king or 5 that often. The board's kind of wet, and he's just betting down small. So I just plan on kind of check calling him down. I'm hoping to get the showdown, but if he bets again, I'm probably going to call. So yeah, he just ends up having some goofy hand that was a bluff that ended up making a middle pair. Not my favorite spot ever, but I think he's going to have a lot of weak hands. And I think 10s are ahead of a decent amount of his range. 10-jack offsuit, it's going to be pretty standard isolate. Any 2 broadways when I'm in the cutoff button is going to be pretty standard isolate. And I'm not going to c-bet my middle pair, so there's not that much value to be had. When he checks a second time, I think I can bet again and get some value from like flush draws, 9x, maybe some weaker jack x's, so pretty standard. He goes ahead and leads out like half on a river. I think my hand's the best right here, unless he backed into something crazy. Oh, wow. So that's a good note to take on that guy. Hit. Call to the under pair and hit is set on me. That's nice. Okay, here this guy never really folds 2 3-bets. I'm going to just 3-bet queens, fairly large for value, even though we're a little bit deep. He only folds with 3-bets 30% of the time, and he's pretty aggressive. I do have a note on him as well. He's capable of flatting pocket aces pre-flop and playing aggressively post-flop with them. Of course, in that hand, when he did that, I stacked him. It's a bad idea. I actually don't think his play was terrible in the hand that happened with. There was a I don't know, there was a guy that opened in middle position. He's kind of like a tighter reg, and he folds like all the time with 3-bets. That being said, he did open it in middle position. Um, is a pretty tight range there, so I can assume I'm probably going to be 3-betting that spot a lot, but it's not terrible to flat sometimes is just because you're going to get him to fold so much pre-flop, you kind of want, I mean, he's going to probably put more money in post-flop, and, you got aces, and they're not, you can get some value post-flop. They're not going to get sucked out on too much. That being said, he wasn't a small blind, I was in the big blind with ace-queen suited, so he did manage to get me to come along too. And I could have a fairly wide range in that spot, just trying to hit a good hand. And I did. Ended up stacking him. And I don't know, I think the way he played it was fine, but you kind of always leave yourself open to being stacked and all goofy things happening when you decide to like slow play big hands. So this is what I like about 4ing is I can just load up a ton of tables and just click fold all day. Super easy. I know a lot of you probably shouldn't do this because you just haven't been training, so long in your life or for that long of a time to be able to do this. But I can really, read people's stats and I have a good idea of what I'm trying to do in every single hand. So it may just look like I'm just sitting here clicking buttons and not really thinking about hands, but I'm actually thinking pretty in depth about hands. I'm pretty good at multi-tabling and being able to function. I have my HUD all color-coded and everything. Let's see. That being said, I do win at a slightly lower win rate when I play this many tables, but it's more profitable for me since I'm playing more tables, getting more hands per hour. So my big blind per 100 is slightly lower, but the amount of hands I get are a lot higher, and ultimately that brings in a little bit more money. And of course, it's only under specific circumstances. Like these tables are fairly good right now, so I like doing it. But if the tables are kind of nitty and there's a lot of regs and they're kind of tough, then I'd probably either not play or drop down on tables. Got pocket kings. Hopefully this guy has something. Nope. So here we got pocket queens against this guy in middle position. Let's see, middle position, his pre-flop raise is 11%. I think this is a decent spot. I mean, he doesn't seem to fold that much to 3 bets. The one thing that's going to suck, though, is when he 4 bets. But I think there's some value in 3 betting. It's super thin, though. Thinking back on it, I think most of the time I want to just be flatting here. So unfortunately he tanks and then goes ahead and puts a pretty sizable raise in there. I think I just have to get it all in. I'm not too thrilled about it though. Hopefully he just has ace king or something. Oh wow, it's got ace queen. So that actually makes me want to 3-bet queens a little bit more. He must have really low views of me. Thinks that I might 3-bet a lot or something, which I do. He would be right there, but not against this guy. So Ahmed, um, raise ace queen offsuit middle position, 4-bet call off to me in button. Cool. And it's kind of weird too because we're slightly deep. I really didn't expect him to have a hand like ace queen in his range. So I wonder if he does that with pocket jacks or pocket tens. I think ace queen's a pretty weak hand. I'd much rather have pocket tens or jacks for him. But that being said, he got in his money and we helped define his range a little bit, which is nice. It'll definitely help out in future hands. I'm going to check call the 9 river. 9's not my favorite card ever because it does complete some hands, but I think there's enough bluff catchers for me to call. And unfortunately, he just kind of played a hand really passively that I didn't really expect to be in his range. So, I don't know. Good for him. He won an extra bet out of me. Not much money, but I think I played that well. Got kings here in the bottom middle table. Super dry flop. A couple of fish. One tight sort of reg player. Not sure what's up with his buying amount, but he's got okay stacks. Or stats, not stacks. I'm listening to music on my headphones right now and timetabling, so I apologize if I suck at speaking. Lady Fox, play a lot with her. She steals a lot in the cutoff and folds a lot to 3-bet, so I'm going to actually turn my hand into a bluff here. Here with a 10-jack, I'm going to c-bet as a bluff. I'm not thrilled about it, but this guy's been folding a c-bet so far. He's got a third of his hand, or he plays 32% of his hand, so if I can get aces, or ace-x, queen-x, or king-x to fold, then more power to me, I guess. Makes my bluff good. Also, there's some overcards that I can barrel as well, potentially. I don't know if I really want to barrel a guy like that. Here, I was about to 3-bet it, then I realized how short stacked he was. I'm just going to fold, unfortunately. If I 3-bet there, it'd have to be like $2 and then fold to a shove. And I don't really like that. We're deep in position against this guy, so I don't mind flatting his little min-raise with 8-9 suited in position. Flop pretty well, middle pair, backdoor flush draw, open-ender. I'm just going to call. I don't think there's really a point in raising. If I raise here, it'd be as a bluff, but I think this guy's range is fairly wide. I end up hitting, I guess, the second nut straight on the turn, but I'm pretty confident with my hand. He bets again. He's kind of a fishier player, so I'm going to go ahead and raise this up. I think that he could definitely be calling with like 2 pairs and flush draws and all sorts of goofy things. Maybe sets. I mean, it's been pretty obvious that I have a 9. I think even people like this will kind of put you on a 9, but I think that there's plenty of value to be had. Just because he puts me on a 9 doesn't mean that he's folding. But he goes ahead and folds, which is fine. Kind of wanted to build the pot right there. I guess alternatively I could have called. It wasn't like there was that many suck out river cards. Like if the board paired, I'm still not going to fold or anything, but I'm a little less happy about my hand. But if I call there and the river's just like a deuce of hearts or something, then I could probably just go ahead and raise and he'll pay me off. So maybe flatting might have been the best play there. So I want to show you guys my graph since there's not much going on right now. So since I kind of started this whole building a bankroll thing, the orange line is my EV, and then the green line is my actual winnings. So this does not include rakeback or tournament winnings or anything like that, of course. Not that I played many tournaments, but I did win that one. So basically, I'm just crushing pretty hard at 10 and L. I go ahead and try some 20 and L, and I go up from being up in EV to like down. And so then I decided to go back and play some 10 and L again and crush really hard again. Decide to play some 20 and L and just doom switch really hard. And the graphs when you go up in limits will look like this. They'll look really swingy, but in terms of big blinds per 100, they're not that bad. So I'll go ahead and switch it over to big blinds per 100. So, I mean, it's fairly steady. I mean, this is a very small sample size, so just having a whole string of 4,000 hands where you drop, like, was it 5 buy-ins? That's very standard. So this fish goes ahead and calls this wet board, and I end up hitting top pair on the turn, so I'm definitely just going to bomb huge for value. Not a huge fan of the ace. There are some ace-x hands that he could have, so I'm going to go ahead and just bet small for value, and hopefully he just calls me off on river with something goofy. Sure enough, he calls. He must have had like third pair there. Oh wow, he peeled with a gut shot and a queen, and we both ended up hitting the queen on the turn. So, yep, you just gotta bet. Fish will end up having weird hands, but as long as you know that a majority of their hands aren't ace-x there, you can just go ahead and bet for value and be pretty confident about it. And they'll show up with really weird hands all the time. So here we have pocket jacks in the middle right table. It's kind of a weird spot. Oh yeah, this is Ahmed. He got it in with ace queen last time. So I think he's going to be isolating quite a bit in this spot. He does make it a little bit small. So I'm actually going to go ahead and squeeze here for value with my jacks. Sorry. He's a little bit deep, but my stack is $20, so doesn't really affect me. If we're deeper, I would probably just flat because Ahmed's not crazy or anything. He might be a little tilted, and he might, when he gets an ace queen, he probably thinks that I'm kind of like an aggressive player trying to take advantage of position and stuff. So knowing that he probably thinks that about me, I'm very willing to 3-bet jacks for value, and he'll try to play back sometimes. Kings here, I go ahead and c-bet. I really don't like these spots. Like 2 jacks on board, and I have pocket kings, and Ahmed calls me, of course. He's a fairly solid, tight player. He might be calling here with like pocket 8s or pocket 9s or pocket 10s or something, but there's also a decent chance he might have like a jack X, of course. This guy goes ahead and squeezes. He only squeezes 3.4%. We've got ace king though. I actually don't mind just raising it up here and getting it in pre-flop. If he has aces or kings, then it's unlucky for me, and it's just not going to happen that often. I just think that there's so much dead money, and I don't really feel like playing post-flop. I mean, I could play post-flop potentially and have a dominating set type of hand, like if he has ace-queen or something, but he actually goes ahead and flats, which is pretty peculiar. Sometimes people do this just because they're bluffing and then they realize that like the 4-bet is really small, so they call, which is bad. But some people also do this with like jacks or queens that are free to get it in pre-flop, and then they wait for a flop that doesn't have an ace or a king, and then they go nuts. So like this guy just goes ahead and donks out. I'm just gonna fold here. I mean, he could definitely have like all sorts of overpairs, or I don't know, 7-8 suited or something stupid, and unfortunately I just have to fold. So that's kind of the merit. I mean, I'm in position, which is nice, but that's also kind of the merit of flatting sometimes, is that if this guy's just kind of being goofy, then you can own him, and also you don't have to put in that much money pre-flop. I mean, it's just kind of frustrating, because I really want to see all 5 cards. Like, I just want to get it in pre-flop and gamble it up. But apparently, it just sucks when you get in a ton of money and they just flat. It's really frustrating, because fish tend to do that quite a bit. The c-bet jacks are value. The board is fairly coordinated and wet, and he's not necessarily just going to call with king x here. There's a lot of other hands that will call that are worse. It's a pretty good session so far. I'm up 3 buy-ins at 20-0. Really need it too. I've just been doing pretty bad lately at this limit, so I will take any wins I can get. Since starting my stake, though, not my stake, my Bankroll challenge, I'm down just over 2 buy-ins at 20-0. Oh, we got a call here in position with ace-3 suited. And that's over 6,500 hands. So definitely not a huge sample size at all. And I mean, I'm gonna be pretty subject to variance. When I just play 6,500 hands. But I'm coming back. On the reverse side, at 10-0, I'm up 22 buy-ins over 11,500 hands. So it's just one of those things, I don't really see that big of a difference between 10-0 and 20-0, to be honest. So it's just one of those things where over short sample sizes, you'll have giant fluxes of run good and run bad. Also, 10-0 is kind of comfortable with. 20-0 I'm comfortable with too, but I would say 10-0 even more, just because on average the players tended to be a little bit worse, and I don't know. I guess I could just multi-table and pretty easily gamble up $10, whereas $20 is a little bit more money, and maybe it might have some effects on me. I don't know. I don't feel that it does, but it's possible. I won't rule it out. 3-bet 5-7 suited. This guy steals a lot and folds a decent amount to 3-bets. Also, notice when I say stuff like that, oh, this guy's a reg that does this and this and this. I'm not just saying that to say that, or I'm not just guessing that. I'm actually just looking at their stats, and over 22,000 hands, he steals 41%. I didn't look at a specific stat, which I probably should have. He actually only steals 22% from the small blind, which is a pretty big jump. He's just super aggressive on the button, pretty aggressive on the cutoff, and then somewhat aggressive in the small blind. But he does fold a decent amount to 3-bets, close to 70%. So I think that 3-betting there is fine. It's a little marginal. If he opens wider, then I'm definitely gonna be more prone to 3-bet him a little bit more. This hand on the middle, left middle table here, where Foxy Lady raised, I could have 3-bet that, but I have been, if you guys have been paying attention, I've been 3-betting her all night in that same situation, and I don't want to do it every time. I just want to do it enough to where it's profitable, but not enough to where it just gets under her skin and she wants to play it back constantly. I don't think I have that dynamic with her, so I think right now I just want to maintain this dynamic where she just plays tight and I'm able to abuse her raises when she's in position. But I don't want to get it to the point where she's going to start playing back and I'm going to have to be doing huge gambly all-in stuff. Because, when I start getting it in with queens versus ace-queen or queens versus ace-king, stuff like that, it becomes very high variance for a very large amount of money. And, I haven't really been running that well at 20-0, which doesn't necessarily change my play, but it's also a nicer benefit. Whereas if I just 3-bet and they fold a lot, and I have a strategy on just getting her to fold a lot, that's very low variance, because when she folds all the time, I don't really, I just win 100% of the time when she folds. So it's a little bit nicer of a strategy, I think. It's more of a sure bet, and I guess in the future, depending on the sort of table image I want to have, I can start 3-betting her relentlessly every single time until she literally just starts responding back, and then try to readjust to her that way. But I don't really feel like doing that right now, to be honest. This is my first session back in a week or so I don't. I feel like I might be a little rusty, and I don't really want to dive into trying to outlevel regs here and get them to do crazy things, and then try to call them off with a really wide range. Pocket tens, really nice hand. Get called in position by the fish. And I've got middle pairs, so I'm definitely going to c-bet here. He calls, and the jack's actually a really good turn card, so I'm going to go ahead and barrel again for value. This guy has a lot of draws in his range, but at the same time, he's not really good at betting them when I check. So let's see, bet versus miss c-bet in position. He's not done it once on the river, so he's kind of like a showdown monkey. I'm just going to go ahead and bet big, and hopefully he has a 9 that he decides to call with. But he just folds, so he must have just had like 8-10 or something. Maybe a flush draw. So unfortunately for me, that was a pretty good value bet, I think. I think a lot of times he's going to have something that he's just like, screw it, I call. I don't really expect him to have a jack that off him, so jack probably would have raised the turn. That's part of why I bet. I bet for value / to figure out where I'm at. I hate when people say that, by the way, but there's actually times where you can bet to see where you're at. But that's actually a really good spot to do it, and that's not the primary reason. That was just like a secondary benefit. So I got tens all over the place now. Just betting this guy who limped. And I'm just going to go ahead and shove them all in on the turn here. I hope he just has like a pair or flush draw or something and decides to go with it. He's kind of fishy, so expect him to do that a lot with all sorts of terrible hands. Tens in the top middle table. I went ahead and checked the flop because there wasn't really value in betting. Maybe from like an 8, but that's about it. But then I check call. I think he's going to stab a lot when I check there, and of course he does, and then he just checks turn, and I'm pretty sure my hand's ahead. So I decided to go ahead and bet out like half pot, really small size bet, try to get some really light calls on the river, and he folds, so he must have just had air. We've been going for about 30 minutes now. I'm not sure how long I'm going to be recording, but feeling pretty good after 30 minutes play. Well, I've been recording for 30 minutes, but I've been playing for about 90 minutes. This is typically kind of a longer type session, but I did take maybe about a 10-minute break in the middle to go to the bathroom. Then I took another 5 minutes or so to load up the recording software and all that stuff. So it's not really like a 90-minute session. It's more like I don't know, like a 50-minute session, and then 40 or 15 minutes after that, and then maybe like another 20, 30 minutes after that of actual playing. So I steal here with 8-10 suited. The guy on the button is kind of loose passive. I'm just going to go ahead and stab half pot, so if he just folds a third of the time, then I win. I figure he's just going to call here. Well, there's actually a decent amount he can call with, but there's also, since he has such a wide range, there's a decent amount he can just fold with as well, so it's worth a shot. Didn't work out, though, but that's alright. Gave myself a good price, and in the long run, it's profitable. Here's another guy that wants to limp. I'm just going to go ahead and raise. Let's see what my note on him is. Oh, man. It's doing the freeze thing again when I when I go ahead and pull up the notes. I'm not sure why it keeps doing that. Hopefully it's still recording right now. Just be 1 second, guys. Yeah, this is super tilting. So I just ended up checking here. I'm actually going to call his turn. I think he can stabble here a lot. And I think ace high is going to be good a decent amount. Fortunately, he was bluffing with a made hand, which isn't necessarily a bad play in that spot, but it is what it is. I'm going to open up 8-9 as the two guys to my left are kind of nitty. So I learned my lesson. Don't bring up the notes again. That I don't know why, but that's been freezing my computer whenever I have been doing that lately. It makes no sense. We have another guy that wants to limp. I'm just going to keep isolating for value. Good flop to c-bet. I got a gut shot and some overs. He raises, so he must have hit 2-power set. Or like the nut flush draw, maybe. But he obviously has a big hand. This guy, he 3-bets a decent amount, and it's blind versus blind. Actually, he 3-bets a lot. Let's just fold to 4-bet. He hasn't folded the 4-bet yet. So let's go ahead and 4-bet him for value, and I'm just going to stack off with him if he shoves. So he folds. Interesting. That might be an okay spot to flat, but I really hate playing out of position. So, I mean, I'm open to the fact that there may be more plus EV ways to play that, but given his stats, I think playing it the way I did was pretty good. Here's Foxy Lady again. I'm going to go ahead and 3-better. This time I'm in position instead of out of position. 3-bet bluff here too. Not sure who this guy is, but he seems to have a fairly wide range. I 3-bet with ace 8-9 suited and get cold called by a Roman banker. It's a really weird play. Not sure what he's doing. I figure when he does this, he's either going to have like queens or ace king or something, so I'm just going to stab half pot, try to get him to fold something that's like ace king or ace queen suited. When he calls, this is actually a really good turn card, so I'm going to go ahead and barrel turn. If he calls again, I might shove river. So I think he's going to have a lot, when he calls that flop, I think he's going to have a lot of hands that are, like, jacks and queens and stuff like that. So I plan on just shipping here. Well, he shoves himself, so he must have peeled out of position with ace king or ace queen or something, or maybe he has pocket tens. I'm just gonna go ahead and fold. So I think this is a really terrible play by him. In my opinion, here he should check again. I was gonna ship it all in, but congratulations. He forces me to play perfectly. Yeah, his play makes absolutely no sense. Man, unfortunately, I was wanting to set mine here at the nines, but got to fold pre-flop now. SP Pfeiffer again. He seems to be playing a wide range, so I'm actually just going to flat king queen here. Try to see a flop in position against him. Pocket nines, I'm not going to raise out of position because it's multi-way. I don't really feel like seeing a multi-way flop in a big pot out of position with nines. Kind of want to just see a good, take the good price and see the flop. Unfortunately, didn't flop a set, and board is really wet on this right middle table. I'm just gonna fold king queen. I don't expect him to c-bet that unless he's got a strong hand. So this guy limps pre-flop and then pots this really dry flop. Curious to see what he has. Here's another interesting hand. I assume it's just all in pre-flop. Let's see what happened here. Okay, so Bankroll makes it really small pre-flop with aces. Roman Banker raises, it's just all in. So all in pre-flop, fairly standard. The weird thing is his raise size, though. So that's something that I could note. But of course, if I press notes, then my computer is going to freeze up again, unfortunately. It's pretty frustrating that happens, but I'm trying to figure it out. Here, let's see. It's kind of a fishier limper than some other guy. Go ahead and pop it up here. Try to isolate and get some value. Don't want to click the note, but I think I can cheat here by just hovering that mouse over. So he peels under pairs and leads river. Okay, it's that guy. Here against this guy, end up flopping top pair. Not super thrilled about my kicker though. And then here I have a gut shot from my ace jack. Hopefully he just folds. He's got pretty decent fold to c-bet stat, but if he calls, I have decent equity. I wish I knew more about John, Jawn, was I might 3-bet here for value, but I don't, so I'm just going to go ahead and flat. And unfortunately, this is a pretty bad flop for me. I'm just going to go ahead and fold here. Third pair is no good. Let's see. This guy's been 3-betting a little bit on the big blinds, and the button has been folding to 3-bets so far. So I'm actually going to flat with queens here. See if I can get a squeeze, and sure enough, it happens. Let's see what's going on here. There's 420 in the pot. I'm debating whether I should raise smaller or shove. I'm thinking given the stack sizes, I should probably just shove If I were deeper, I'd probably have to make it like 7 and call in. So if I had like maybe $25 behind me. Unfortunately, this guy's going to have a lot of bluffs in his range, so he's probably just going to fold. But, if he's the type of guy that 3-bet stuff like jacks or ace-jack suited or 10s or something like that, then I'll get some loose calls there, decent amount. To put me on ace-king or something goofy. I'm just going to fold here. With jacks, I'll peel once, see what's up. Let's see, this guy's c-bets a lot in the flop, and then once out of 2 times on the turn. He c-bets a fairly solid amount. It's not like there's that many, like, backdoor draws that he might be barreling with here, so he'd have to either be pure bluffing a lot or just have a queen. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold it here. I think that's fine. So, just having kind of this string of hands that I'm just losing. I'm still up about 3 binds, just a few dollars under that, but pretty happy with the session. If I find myself not playing well or maybe starting to lose a little bit, then I'll probably just decide to quit at that point. It's kind of my little internal defense mechanism. It's like the worst thing ever is having a good session and playing for a really long time and just losing it all, or just playing a long time in general and not playing as well and tilting and stuff like that. So, usually when I'm up there on my time, and I would just go ahead and quit no matter where I'm at in the session. Theoretically, I'd want to do that. So I ended up hitting trip 6s on the bottom right here, and I really hope this guy's a 6 as well, so I can just get it all in. And I think he does, because he shoves. He just has bottom pair, so there goes his stack. Yeah, it's really spewy. Not sure what he's doing. I'm just going to fold here. I don't have the short stack notes on this guy. Could probably find another table that he's at and figure it out, but here we go. So he 3-bets a decent amount in the blinds for steals, but I don't know. It doesn't mean you have to play back at him every single time. Let's see, Grandall. This is the guy that doesn't fold to 3-bets, and he doesn't fold to c-bets either. And I'm out of position against a really good, or a decent player as well, so I'll probably end up just flatting King-Jack suited. So I think my hand has a very good chance of being the best hand. I was considering 3-betting for value, but I don't really want to be out of position against 2 players. So I know that Grandall will call almost always, and then that would kind of force Ralph D to call. And also when I call, I have potential for the fish to come along as well, which is more beneficial for me. Unfortunately, this flop just sucks, so I just gotta fold. This is also a perfect spot in the bottom left. I pick up aces, and there's a lot of people here that I've been kind of messing around with this whole night. So there's a decent chance that I'll make some money here. Unfortunately, they all fold, so I'm just going to go ahead and raise the button. Hopefully, this Fisher guy in the blinds or this Reg in the big blind play back at me. If I remember right, Prognosis is kind of a bad player. Or not, I don't know if he's how bad he is. I just saw he was losing or something. Yeah, he loses a decent amount over the short run. So unfortunately no action there, but that's alright. Here I ended up hitting top pair. That's stab. There's a lot of draws out. Here, flop middle pair and a gut shot. I'm actually just going to check, mostly because I don't know, I don't think that there's some value, but there's also a short stack behind me, and there's not, like, that much value. But now I'm just going to go ahead and bet for value that I have the trips. And they both fold, which is okay. So I guess one of my tables died, and we're only playing 9 right now. Not sure why this guy plays half stacked here. Seems like he has okay stats. I'll just mark him as an exploitable reg for now. And this guy that calls seems like he's somewhat fishy. I'm actually going to see bet 7s. It's for super thin value. Well, I don't know. I guess it says a bluff. He can call me with worse, though. Check min raise. I'm just going to fold here. Not sure what he's doing. It's pretty goofy. Top right here, check through on the flop, and I just let out with an ace on the turn. Just a decent amount that he could have. That's worse. Unfortunately, he just folds. Alright, so here we got jacks against a guy limping and a guy ISO raising. It's kind of ISO raising a little small amount. I really don't want to press the note button, but I want to see the note. He peels under pairs. Oh, okay, so this is the guy that doesn't really fold post flop. Since I don't really know anything about the ISO raiser, I'm actually just going to flat jacks. It's a little tight, but I think it's a good play, especially when I'm playing against this other guy that that I know calls really loosely. I'm just going to go ahead and lead out here because, A, there's this guy that doesn't fold, and the board's pretty wet, and it's multi-way, and I don't know if this guy's going to c-bet all the time. Kind of want to start building the pot up now. Here on the left, I have an open-ended straight flush draw, and this guy raises flops in position not that much, so I'm actually just going to call here. He's giving me a really good price to hit my draw. Missed the turn. Let's kind of see what happens here. He ends up checking, so that probably means he's going to have... I mean, I have a really strong draw. that kind of covers a lot of the draws he might raise. So he might have 10 jack himself, or he might have like an ace x of spades. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and bomb out here, and hopefully he's got like ace x of spades and river is top pair and can't fold or something. He ends up folding, which is interesting. I'm not really sure what he had. He might have had 7x of spades, possibly. Here, we're in a spot, gets a 3-bet. This guy 3-bets quite a bit. I'm actually going to flat here, because I've got a pretty strong hand that can dominate a lot of his bluffs. He also makes it really tiny, so I'm not sure if I want to like raise it and get it all in when he's giving me such a great prize. I actually flop pretty well. He c-bets. I think it's okay to actually just raise here and get it all in. I think I do have some decent fold equity. And my hand is pretty strong as well, so I don't mind calling it off when he shoves. I'd just much rather have him fold it now, but I don't want to have to call here and then have a blank come and then have to consider folding. I think just given how wide his range could be, his hand range could be pretty weak. And sorry, 1 second. Jacks, I'm just gonna fold. Ace 3, not a huge fan, but I'm just gonna call again on the turn. This guy's definitely capable of limping fairly big aces. And he bombs river. Just gonna go ahead and give it to him. I probably should have folded turn, but I kind of do have a gut shot as well, so I think it makes it okay to call. But so earlier in the session I got a bunch of 10s at once. Now apparently I've got a bunch of jacks at once. I will gladly accept that. Jacks are fun to play. This prognosis guy keeps trying to get involved with me. This one guy 3-bets the button quite a bit, and he makes it kind of a smaller size, so I'm going to just try to re-raise here. And I'm happy getting it in pre-flop. I don't really know much about him, but I do know that he seems fairly loose, and he's been 3-betting quite a bit. He decides to flat, which is kind of funny. That's what a lot of bad micro-stakes players do, is they 3-bet bluff, but then when they get 4-bet a very standard amount, at least at higher limits, they don't really know what to do, because they're used to like these $6 or $7 re-raises, and so they just think like, oh, maybe I can flat. So I'm actually just going to check here, because the king is a scare card. I don't expect him to have a king in his range that often. If he has ace-king, he's probably shoving pre-flop. Some people do flat ace-king here in this spot, but I don't really expect him to. The queen's a really terrible card. He could have ace-queen. Probably doesn't have pocket queens. I'm going to check once more. I don't think there's a point in betting. And then the ace is another really terrible card. This is like the 2-3 worst cards on the board right now. So it's going to check, and hopefully he just has like pocket 10s or something like that, and just see a showdown. If he bets, I'm just going to have to fold, unfortunately. There's a decent amount of aces that could be in his range, so. Well, I put in all the money in this hand when I was ahead, and it didn't work out for me, so I'm just going to fold. Nice hand. It's possible he's bluffing there, but I think the vast majority of the time he's not. He'll just show me something like ace-10 suited or something goofy. If a turn was a better card, just like a complete blank, I would have definitely bet for value there. Same thing with the river. But unfortunately, that board just ran out really terrible. other than that, I really like my play all throughout the hand. And that to me seems really bad, just flatting a 4-bet like that. Kind of puts a little mental note in my head that he's not someone that I should 4-bet bluff, because he's not going to know how to handle it, and his default reaction looks like it's just flatting, which means that I should be value betting more with hands like jacks and tens and stuff like that, which I did do, but unfortunately it was just a really bad board. But yeah, definitely in the future I'm not going to really be bluffing that guy to play back at his really high 3-betting stats. So I raise pre-flop with ace-king, and I get almost insta 3-bet by a nitty player, which really sucks because we're both in early position. I think flatting is okay because it's suited, but I also don't mind folding. Here I'm just gonna bet big with my ace. I'm gonna flat. It's basically to hit an ace or like diamonds. Other than that, I'm probably just gonna have to give up. I mean, I'm not folding if I had a king either, but. Spot on middle table. I get peeled out of position here. I'm just going to go ahead and check. This is a decent flop to c-bet. There's quite a bit of stuff that can come on the turn for me to barrel, but fortunately he's probably just going to have something in showdown value. Alright, so here with the ace-king, he didn't c-bet the flop, which is really weird. I'm going to actually just turn my hand to a bluff. I think he's going to have ace-king here a lot. So I kind of expect him to bet aces, kings, queens, stuff like that. So I guess we just had the same hand that time. That's a great thing about nits, is you can almost always rely on them to see bet their overpairs. They've been waiting for so long and they finally got their hand. So if you hit a set or something, don't ever lead out into them. Bottom right, I'm going to see about this flop. There's a couple of decent turns that I can barrel as well. This guy decides to raise. He's raised a quarter of the time so far, but I don't really think there's much I can do here. I'm just going to fold. Beazle Bob just open shoves, so that's weird. Hopefully he's just spazzing out right now and I can just pick up a hand next time and own him. So he opened, shoved ace-8 and showed everyone. Kind of tells me that he didn't misclick, he's just being stupid. Now he limps. There's some fish that do that. They'll like get to a table, shove their first hand, and think that like establishes their dominance on the table. Like, you know, don't mess with me. I'm here to gamble up, guys. And it's like, all right, dude. I'm gonna wait till I have ace jack suited and stack you. When people open shove like that too, I love gambling with them. I'll call with all sorts of pairs and strong ace X's. Like if I was on the big blind there, I would probably call with I don't know, sevens plus. I think it's okay to call here with 8-10 suited. It's a really tiny raise, and this guy raises a lot, and my hand plays fairly well. This guy goes in and donks out, which is interesting. He actually donks out 30% of the time. I think it's a good spot with my open-ended straight flush draw to raise. The worst thing ever would be if he had like 9x of hearts or ace-x of hearts, and we got it on the flop. But I think considering its entire range, especially since he donks out a very large percentage of the time, I think that there's value definitely in raising this, and there's a decent amount of fold equity. So he goes ahead and donks the turn now, which is kind of weird. Not sure what that means. I'm going to try raising this turn just so I can get it in, all the money in the river. So I don't want to call here and then have there be no money on the river. And so he jams too. So he might have a flush as well, but whatever if he does. God, that's so gross. I did have one out to the nuts, but this guy coolered the shit out of me. It's really gross. It's kind of how 20NL's been treating me lately. Lots of coolers and stuff. That's right. Also, I can't take notes. If I click a note, it freezes up my computer. That, among everything, just tilts the hell out of me. I really want to play this ace-queen hand. This happened to me the other day. Same situation. I just lost the cooler. And I had aces the next hand. I was going to take a note. And then all of a sudden, like, the computer freezes. I'm like, okay, cool. Fold aces. This guy stabs. Definitely going to call here. This guy steals a lot on the button. And he never folds to 3-bet. So he's just rarely going to have anything. I'm just going to check the river on the ace. I think he can definitely stab at that a lot as a bluff. Let's see. I'm wondering if there's merits in raising river for value. I think there are. I'm going to go ahead and raise. He can have worse aces for sure. Wow. Well, it's another cooler. There's so many ace-x. Like, ace-jack and ace-king are the only thing. But he's literally flatting with worse aces, like ace-10, ace-9, ace-8. A lot of, like, suited aces, mostly. So that really sucks. But I think I played that hand well. Alright, so I'm trying to remember this hand that I was trying to take a note on before it froze my computer. I'm really not seeing it, but I'm afraid to close this window because I'll probably see it as soon as I close it, and then I can't really open it again, so it'll freeze my computer. It's so weird. I'm really not sure why it does that either. So let's see. Here's. Okay. Oh yeah, it was the king X hand. I remember. So he donks out with draws and stuff. We know that. So I can actually raise this flop for value. My top pair. He just folds this time. So definitely take a note on him. Yeah, it was really gross when he donks turn and then 3-bets when I raise him. Because I doubt he's going to do that unless he has a flush too. I don't know. He's kind of spazzy and stuff, so it's very possible, but it's just definitely not my favorite spot ever. Ace 5-3 flop, check call here. This guy's gonna have a lot of like suited connectors and middle pocket pairs and stuff, so let him stab. Let's see. Versus miss c-bet, his bet position is fairly high. Call again on the turn. I just don't think there's that many ace-x in his range. It's possible though. Okay. So it's interesting that he flats ace-9 suited against an under-the-gun raise. It's completely terrible, but had I known he'd done that, I probably would just check fold turn. I didn't think he was capable of that pre-flop though, so that's kind of why I called turn. The good thing is I also know he's not really capable of value betting thinly, so if he bets river there, he's going to have a really strong hand or air. I probably would have folded river anyway to a bet, but it's kind of interesting to think about. I really want to take a note on him, but I can't. It's so frustrating. Maybe I can take a note on I'll take a note on in the in-game note system. This SP Pfeiffer guy has been raising a ton of hands. Super loose pre-flop. So I'm going to start at 3-betting him pretty relentlessly as bluffs. Because I just think that his range is so wide he can't really do much but fold that often. Or, but fold most of the time. He hasn't really 4-bet yet either, so it seems very exploitable in that he just raises a lot and then folds. Let's see. Get 3-bet by this guy. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't really fold the 4 bets. He 3-bets only like 5.5%. I'm just gonna go ahead and fold. He could be bluffing me a decent amount of time, but I'm okay with that. There's really not much I can do there. My hand doesn't really have that good of playability post-flop either. So I would much rather flat it with, like, I don't know, ace-deuce suited rather than ace-jack offsuit. I decided to 3-bet this one guy and made this really weak-looking pre-flop raise, so I thought I might be able to bluff him, but apparently he had the nuts. This guy goes ahead and pots at pre-flop in the, what is that, the hijack? I'm gonna flat with ace queen suited instead of 3-betting. I end up flopping the nuts, which is obviously really nice. Hopefully he c-bets, and probably gonna check raise. I'm just gonna check the turn. That turn kind of sucks because I have an ace and a queen of diamonds, so the best he can probably have is like king of diamonds. But now I can go ahead and bet river, and he'll probably call me with any diamond, probably any 10 or anything like that. Unfortunately, it just doesn't have anything. Super wet board. Just has nothing, I guess. See if there's more tables to join. Action's going kind of slow for me. I'm not sure why this aggressive guy just decided to limp on the small blind there. That was weird. Flop top pair here with king 8-8. Betting for value, though, there's not... I mean, this guy doesn't like to fold to c-bets, but realistically there's not that much he could have. I mean, he might float a lot. Oh wait, I'm in... Yeah, I thought I was on the button for a second. I'm actually going to check this terms. I think that there's more potential to get paid off from the river if I do that. He can also bluff as well. It's not pot control. It's just because I think a lot of time he might just have like ace high or pocket nines or something like that, and then now I can get some value. Yeah, sure enough, he just called with ace high. I mean, given his exact hand, I could have gotten value by betting turn, but I think given all the ace highs and middle pocket pairs there are that would have folded the turn, I make more money when he bluffs at it or bluff catches me on the river. So, it's definitely an interesting hand. I don't really think his play is that bad. I wouldn't turn my hand into a bluff, though. I mean, he's calling the flop because he thinks his hand is the best hand. You know, it's a really dry board, and I have a pretty wide range, so... I mean, his hand is going to be best a lot. So I'm just really not sure how the logic lines up, where he thinks he has the best hand on the flop, but then just decides to turn it into a pure bluff on the river. Just doesn't really make that much sense to me. But I think he played pretty well leading up to that spot. This guy makes it really small pre-flop. I'm going to go ahead and 3-bet him with king 8 suited and just... I don't know, this guy's playing kind of weird. He had previously limped. Small blind versus blind, he just like limped and then folded when I raised. So here I'm just actually gonna check. I've showdown value. I think a lot of his hands could be like pairs and stuff. I don't really want to like turn my hand into a bluff by betting. The ace of hearts isn't like, it's a pretty bad turn. But again, I have showdown value. I'll probably just try to show it down here. That's an absolutely terrible river. I mean, he could definitely bluff here sometimes, but also if he just has something like, I don't know, pocket fives with a 5 of hearts, he just won. So let's go ahead and fold that, unfortunately. Really bad board runouts. Not too thrilled. So again, another guy that's kind of short stacked that I thought I could kind of push around a little bit. He seals close to 50% on the buttons and then folds 90%. So I thought I could three bet that pretty effectively, but apparently not. we go. We got another table going. I decided to barrel this turn with a 9-3 suited because if he just calls here, he probably doesn't have a king. But obviously he has a king now and he check raises. But if he calls, then I can just barrel river. Also, if he calls, I have some outs to an 8 in case he doesn't have a king. But I think it's a pretty good spot to bluff. Unfortunately, he has the very top of his range, and I get owned. I don't know, I think I'm playing pretty well right now. Was up a lot, now not so much. It's just typical of what's been happening at 20NL. It's just been doing okay at times, but then other times it's just really bad board run outs, people having top of their ranges, getting coolered. It's kind of stuff like that, and it's a little frustrating, but eventually it's gonna happen where I just start doing as well I was doing at 10NL, at 20NL. Running bad can't last forever. It's impossible. I'm actually going to steal here. Both these guys fold lots of steals, despite their stats. It's profitable to raise any 2 in that spot, which is kind of funny. Take some really terrible hands and raise it. So against this guy, flop top pair, good kicker. I'm going to go ahead and c-bet. I can't remember because I didn't take a note, but I think this is the guy that called me with ace high that last time. I definitely think that there's value in c-betting that. He doesn't really fold the c-bets that often. There's not much value in betting turn. I'm just going to go ahead and check it, unfortunately. It's kind of pot controlling. He goes ahead and bets a pretty sizable amount on the river. I don't know. I mean, he could have a flush here, but I think this was also the guy that bet pretty big too when he missed with the ace queen that he floated with. So I'm gonna go ahead and call here. Unfortunately, this time. So that's kind of an annoying thing about taking notes. I'm pretty sure that was the guy who did the exact same play with air the last time. But unfortunately, I can't 100% be sure, so I'm not taking notes. The stupid system freezes. So that's a little frustrating, to say the least. So, he binks on me, and I pay off. Nice hand. I really want to take a note, though, that he didn't check raise the flop with the nut flush draw. Here this guy is again with his little tiny 3-bets. I really want to see what he shows up with. Here we go. Flop middle set against 2 fishier type players. We get a c-bet. I could definitely check raise this flop too, because There's a lot of like flush draws and stuff that the guy will be convinced that I might have. He goes ahead and calls, and the deuce is a really good card because now he's going to be convinced that I can't have a set. Let's see, if I get 5 here, it'd be 18. Okay. Oh, wow. That was absolutely terrible by him. He took his bluff catcher and then shoved it for value. So this is a really good spot here. This guy goes ahead and limps again. Blind versus blind. I just raise him up with queens. This time I happen to hit middle set, which is really nice. Just going to go ahead and c-bet. Hopefully he tries to get fancy here by raising. Nope. So that was nice. We doing kind of bad there for a little bit and kind of just turned that session around. Ended up winning some pots. It's kind of gross though. The guy had an out. If he had a queen, he would have beat me. But good thing that did not happen. Negative mentality kind of set in for a second. I was like, don't do it. Here's this guy again, SP Pfeiffer. Go ahead and 3-bet him. He seems to not be folding as much to 3-bets anymore, but he still is folding on the turns a lot, so I plan on barreling him. I've got a really good hand to do that with as well, especially on this flop and this sort of board texture. Let's go ahead and c-bet the flop. I expect him to call a decent amount on the flop, but there's so many turns I can barrel. This is one of them. I picked up a gut shot here. Wow. So he definitely owned me there. Nice hand. This is something I really want to note as well, but it's going to freeze me. So let me go ahead and double click his name, take a note. It's kind of unfortunate because that was a really good spot for me to barrel, and then it was a little questionable to shove on the river. That might have actually been a bad shove, but that was kind of my plan the whole time, was just to go with it. Just kind of, the turn was alright, so it gave me some equity, but it didn't really change the board that much. Usually it's better when there's like overcards on the turn and stuff, but hopefully I can redeem myself here. Guy is opening up pretty big under the gun, and another guy who calls, who seems a little fishy. Let's go ahead and squeeze here out of position. Alright, so this hold'em man keeps 3-betting me. It's getting really annoying. 3-bet. It's kind of frustrating though, because the spots that he's 3-betting in me, he's not doing it that much, so I can't really like play it back yet. I mean, it's just like under the gun raises and a call, and he 3-bets. He's just not really squeezing that much, especially if I'm under the gun. Just kind of represents like he has a strong hand, and he didn't do the little tiny min raise either. He did a decent sized raise that time, so I don't know. Not really sure what to think. Just kind of fold, and nice hand. This guy keeps limping, and I've been raising, and he kind of like thought about it, then called this time, so he might be trying to trap me now. I mean, maybe he might just fold too, but my hand sees flops pretty well, so I'm actually just going to go ahead and check here and try to hit a flop, and I hit this flop pretty nicely. Got some draws and backdoors. I'm just going to go ahead and check the flop. Unfortunately here I get shoved on. Just got to fold my king-queen. So SP Pfeiffer folds. I don't know. He's just playing really passively now. So he started off being fairly aggressive. Not so much anymore. See about ace jack here as a bluff. There are some hands that will fold there. It's also an okay chance that my hand's the best hand, but he'll have some decent equity, and I don't really want to get bluffed off my hand. We got some loose passives. I'd much rather my hand be suited, but I'll go ahead and peel in position here. See a flop. I could stab at it if everyone folds. It's an okay flop. If everyone checks me, I'll probably just stab at it. This is actually a nice flop because it's dry enough that people won't hit it that often, but it's wet enough to where I could actually represent a decent amount of hands by betting. Okay, everyone's folding. It's nice. Please folds. Oh, not sure what happened there. So this guy check calls, which is weird. Hopefully he's not trapping me or trying to. I'm gonna go ahead and barrel the turn here. He obviously has a hand, so I'm just gonna have to give up. The 10's a really bad card too. It's now 7-8 got there, and he goes ahead and leads out. So he obviously just hit his draw or was trapping me the whole time. So nice hand. Well, I'm definitely not up 3 binds anymore. Really good flop. I flop top 2 pair. Really good spot to check raise. That can represent a lot of semi-bluffs and stuff. I hit top set 2 in this other board. It's one of those guys that doesn't like to believe c-bets either. Unfortunately, he just folds. It's kind of hard for him to have a hand there. And unfortunately, when I had top 2 pair, he didn't call on a wet board. Another hand like 4-9 offsuit's terrible, but given how often these guys are folding to steals, it's a good spot. And the super nit 3-bets me, so he obviously has a hand. I can just easily fold. Some 2 other nits right there. Go ahead and steal against them. So now I'm back to playing 10 tables. We've got this Lizard King guy again. I'm pretty sure I played with him before. But he played that last hand really passively on the 996 board when I was double barrel bluffing with ace 3. So I'm happy to play pots in position against him, because I think he can definitely be kind of a passive player. And he checks, thinks for a while, then folds, which I'm pretty happy about. I guess in the future, though, this guy might be a guy that does not like folding. Well, that was an interesting hand. Full house versus quads. I think that's a bad beat jackpot in some casinos. Sorry if you guys aren't good at multi-tabling and it's a little hard to follow, but I am grinding, so I'm going to open up as many tables as I'm comfortable with here. Just try to follow along if you can't. Go ahead and c-bet a couple of times his bluffs, and they both work, which is good news. It's hard to get bluffs to work these days. Wet board, I'm just going to check it back. Ace high might be good some of the times. Hopefully I can just check this down now. This guy goes ahead and donks out here when I have top pair. Let me see how many times he donks out. He donks out a quarter of the time. I'm going to go ahead and raise him for value. And unfortunately with the ace-queen, he ends up having a super low pocket pair, and it works out for him. He could definitely have worse aces and some other stuff as well. But I guess that's kind of the top of his range for doing that. There's not really much I could do about it. I'm going to lead out here with an open-ended straight draw. Just kind of these guys playing passive, trying to see flops and stuff, so you can have all sorts of hands that don't really hit this board. And if they do call, I have decent equity. I don't really like to do that often, especially multi-way, but every now and again I'll do it. Again, another one of these hands, like Jack 4 offsuit, is absolutely terrible, but both these guys fold a ton. 94% and 81% in the blinds, respectively. So, literally any two cards are profitable. I'm just going to keep min-raising them until they show that they want to play back at me. Again, 90s offsuit sucks, but both these guys are folding a lot. Not too much happening despite opening up tons of tables. Just kind of waiting for hands. Here, Fisher player limps. Reg ISOs from the big blind. He can definitely have a lot looser than just aces, kings, queens, stuff like that. I think it's okay to call here. I'm getting a decent price to see a flop with good relative position against the fish. Don't flop though, so it's just going to check fold. Some multi-way. I'm just going to check and give up. Especially when both these players don't really fold the c-bet so far. They both check though, which is kind of interesting. I'm going to go ahead and stab once. Just kind of get things that are lower than King X to fold. Sure enough, it works. I was pretty sure that old Hato didn't have anything, but XXXM477, he could have potentially had a king as well, but I think most of the time he's not. Flop the gut shot here, multi-way, wet board. Not really looking to play this pot though, if you see bets. It's pretty tight. This nit limps in early position. I'm gonna isolate him kind of small. It's kind of peculiar. And I get 3-bet. This guy's been kind of 3-betting a lot. Don't really have samples on him though. But let's make one. Hey, I got kings. Let's see what I can do with kings here. And Gesha goes ahead and folds, so he's obviously just bluffing. Got kings again. So I get raised here. I've got kings. I'm obviously not going to fold ever. Go ahead and re-raise him. This guy, the nit, is also re-raising me. I'm just going to go ahead and jam. He calls off, and he's got ace-king, which is good for me. Good flop. And I don't get sucked out on. Nice. That's a great result. Not gonna lie, the little negative monster in my head was saying, oh, it's gonna hit the ace on you. It's kind of why I was avoiding these other hands. I just was looking at it. And usually when that happens, that's kind of telling you that you're being results oriented and you're probably starting to play bad. But I'm up about $34 right now. That was a nice hand right there. Kind of put me up. I kind of needed that. Went up kind of fast and then went down kind of fast. Let's see. Get cold 4-bet. It's weird. I'm just gonna fold. I'm gonna tank a little bit, then fold just to make it look like I had a big hand and making a big laydown. So I want Foxy Lady to continue to fold to me. I don't know if she's paying attention or not, but in case she is. Let's go ahead and fold. Got kings again, completing the trifecta. Now all these kings hands were in 3 and 4-bet pots, so let's see if tradition continues. So we got Foxy Lady raising, and this is a good spot for me as I can re-raise here, and she might be getting sick of me. On the other table, she 3-bet me, and then there was another spot where I re-raised her and then had to fold to another guy who came over the top. So hopefully she just thinks I'm full of it and stacks off light here, which rigs kind of tend to do against me sometimes. She just folds, which is kind of expected. She folds a lot, so whether she had a bigger hand or not, she might just be doing her thing where she just folds a lot and doesn't really pay attention. Not sure. But, yeah, she's been folding a lot, which is nice. Just going to fold here. This table's actually really nitty on this bottom left. Try to set mine Foxy Lady again. Hasn't really been working today. Another dry board. Can't really do much but fold here. I think it's okay to raise king queen offsuit here, just because the guy in the blinds is pretty loose. It's the only real fish at the table. So one good Canadian guy might be a fish as well. It's not like I'm super deep or anything anyway. Just kind of good when you have a hand like this that doesn't really hit the nuts that often. But against a fishier player in the blind, when he's out of position, I can definitely hit like kings or queens and get some good value out of it. Yeah, some of these tables seem really tight, so my main goal in these tables is to be playing lots of hands positions, stealing, and folding, set mining. That's basically it. Can't really do much when the table's nitty. But it's surprisingly pretty profitable. Like, sometimes people see nitty tables and complain how bad the tables suck, but I'd rather have a, table be all nitty than like a lot of regs and maybe like one or two fish. So when it's all nitty, you can just play back at people all the time. And if they ever are putting all their money in the pot, then probably just fold. I'm gonna go ahead and pot here. It's both these guys to my left are big nits, and he put in dead money, so I'm just gonna start stealing blinds and stuff. Alright, so I guess we're getting close to about 2 hours in, just a little bit under that. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this session, maybe do like one or two more hands. I see a couple of playable hands here. Well, not this hand anymore. But the ace-king for sure. Especially against a short stack. Hopefully we can just get it all in and win a flip or something. Oh, we got jacks. So I guess once these hands are over, I'll go ahead and end it. And as tradition serves, is whenever I say that, like, hands start to come. Whenever I do videos, this seems to happen. Alrighty, well, thank you guys for watching. This is Nitreg from nitreg.com. Be sure to check out my website. You can get your free e-course at nitreg.com. That's how to beat the micros in 2012. Of course, 2012 is going to end in a few days, so I'll have to update that in 2013 for you guys. But go ahead and check it out anyway. Alright, take care, guys. Peace.